Yeah, praise
Amen.
God. Man, it's awesome to be here with you guys. Give it up one more time for the worship team and for Annika Stone and her massive biceps to carry that. Yeah, way to be. Man, you guys are a joy. It's so good to be here and to just worship with you guys. And, it's crazy, like that last song where we're singing, Christ is enough. And it kind of hit me, I think maybe in one sense, because I just got the call last night that Matt and Danny would not be able to be here tonight. And so they were like, we need someone to preach in our place. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll help you find someone. They're like, and we want you to do it. I'm like, right, okay. They're like, are you good with that? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm totally good. I get off the phone. My wife's like, what's happening? I'm like, I'm freaking out right now. But in that moment, to trust is Christ enough. And I think there's a thing in life that we will all come to, especially us who are Christians, is we will experience hardship in life or unplanned, unexpected difficulties. And there's one thing to say, like, Jesus, you're all I need. And it's another thing when you feel like Jesus is all you got. And I want to share a message tonight that has been on my heart for a while. And it's been a process of, I feel like, God writing it in my heart. And I'm not really like sharing from the place of like, dude, I got this all down. But like, I'm learning in this journey as well. So I want you to like join me in this journey. And it's a message that really has changed my life forever. And I believe this could be the truth that sets you on an entirely new trajectory. It could change the way you go about your Christian life forever. And then I also know coming into it, it's sometimes so difficult to understand that scholars, theologians, really smart people, not me, don't always understand it. But yet, sometimes a child, the simple-minded, me, can fully grasp it and live in the fullness. So if you have your Bibles, I'd encourage you to take them out. And if you don't, that's all right too, but it'll be on the screen. And I want you to turn in your Bibles to Galatians, okay? So Galatians, it's Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. Is that how it goes? Yeah? Okay, so after kind of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John's kind of like 3/4, maybe a little bit further through in your Bible, you'll get to the book of Galatians. The guy who wrote Galatians is a dude named Paul. Paul was not always a Christian. He used to hate Christians, and not just like hate them, but was like totally against them. Actually, at one point in time, was in a group of people killing Christians. And he was like a part of that group. And then he set out to like kill more Christians. But God intervened and radically changed Paul's life forever. And this is one of the letters that he writes, okay? And in Galatians 2:20, if you'll turn there, Paul writes this. Hold on, my iPad just stuck. The glory of technology. You ready for this? Paul says, thank you, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. This is the truth that for me changed everything. This is the truth. Like, we're going to dive into this passage, and I hope it comes to life for you. And some of you may be like, Zane, I already got this. It's the basics. Some of you, like me, will now, from this point, start a journey in life in your following Jesus to discover what this means. And it has the potential, as you face difficulties, hardships, things like we're going through in our world right now, I know the reality, some of you are wrestling with an anxiety that is crippling. You have a hard time being alone. You have fear of all sorts of things, and it at times holds you back. Maybe even the fact that I'm talking about it, it begins to stir up in you as well. Some of you have faced a depression and a darkness, and in this season of being in isolation and lockdown, it has only magnified it. And then as school has opened and you thought, okay, I'll get to be around more people, it's only felt like the first day of school all over again, and it brought up more fears, more difficulties, more hardships in relationships, and it only squeezes that tension of depression and isolation, feeling of alone. Maybe it's caused in you an anger. Maybe it's caused you to fall back to sin. You're wrestling with a darkness, whether it be something you're looking at online, whether it be something that's happening in the privateness of your heart, whether it be something between you and another person, and there's these sins that you struggle with. This is the truth, that if you can grasp this, it enables you to face every obstacle as an opportunity for God to make himself strong. First of all, we don't want to miss it though. Look at what Paul says in Galatians 2:20. Kind of actually, it's like the last part of Galatians 2:20. He says, he's talking about Jesus, the Son of God. He says, who loved me and gave himself for me. I know like we talk about Jesus' love and the Father's love for you, but I don't want to miss this. Because I think for myself, I grew up in a broken home. So my parents got divorced when I was real young, and I began to look for love in all the wrong places. 6th grade, I was smoking. 7th grade, I was drinking. 9th grade, I was doing drugs because I was just looking for love and acceptance. And I know the reality that there are people in here who feel that void in your heart, longing for love. Maybe it was because a parent never showed you the fullness of love. You felt like you had to do something or be something in order to earn their love. Or maybe it's because you've been hurt from a relationship, someone that you poured your heart out to, and they broke that love. You need to know the fullness of the Father's love. That he loves you just as you are. But get this, he loves you too much to allow you to stay the same. But he just loves you. And we see this actually in the fact that this might bake your noodle. He made you. And I know some of you are like, well, I know, but like I was, like my mom and dad, like they made me. Yeah. But God fashioned you in your mother's womb. What that means is when you think of yourself, and I don't know if you're like me, there's things that I think of that I'm like, I don't like that. I wish I could change this, right? I look in the mirror and I'm like, ooh, what's happening, right? I'm like, there's things that I wish I could change. But guess what? God made you as you are on purpose. So I hope this helps illustrate, and I hope it'll help make the point. So do you guys know what a luthier is? A luthier? A luthier is a maker of stringed instruments. So my father-in-law, my wife's dad, is a luthier. And it's wild. Like, he takes trips to Alaska. There's like these forests that have been, deforested, and they'll leave behind massive logs in part of the logging process. And he flies out to Alaska and he rescues this like fallen lumber. It's crazy. And then he takes this lumber out to Victoria, Minnesota, starts with the chainsaw and begins to chop it up. And then he begins to form and fashion stringed instruments. And this is the first guitar he's ever made. On the back right here, you probably can't see it, but it just says number 1. He inlaid it, he took a coin, like pressed it out, cut. It's just beautiful, right? On the front, there's like this shell that he took from a beach, but he fashions and he forms these stringed instruments. He gave this one to my wife and I when we got married because she's his number one daughter, right? So she got the number one guitar. And I, true confession, I don't even know how to play the guitar. I'm like, this is amazing. What do I do with it? But it's amazing. He made this guitar, and every part of it he made on purpose. You have been made on purpose. And unlike my father-in-law as a guitar maker, we sometimes make mistakes. Our Father in heaven has never made a mistake. And now, okay, so there's parts of this illustration that might fall short and stuff like that, but this has helped me so much. So he makes these things from scratch. This is number one. I think he's on like number 25. The guy who trained him is a guy named Jim Olson, northern Minnesota. The guy sells his guitars $25,000 for one. You got to wait on a 2-year waiting list. Is that nuts? Think about this. They say you can always tell the value of something based on what someone is willing to pay for it. Think about this. God the Father purchased you with the life of his Son. So that tells me that the value of you is not according to how good you've been or how bad you've been. It's not according to how well you perform or how well you don't perform. But your value is based on the fact that the Father in heaven spent the life of his only Son to purchase you. Girls, Jesus thinks you're drop dead gorgeous. I mean, let that sink in. The Father purchased you with the life of his Son. Now, let's keep going in this passage, okay? So it says, who loved me and gave himself for me. So in order to first understand this truth that we're about to dive into, is you first got to know that you are wildly loved beyond your wildest imagination. You're just loved. You're loved by God. But look what else he says. He says, I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. Okay, you guys, this is the part that, buckle up your seatbelts because it's about to get intense. This is the truth that changes everything. God the Father has not only made you, he has not only saved you, he now wants to live in you through the power of his Spirit. Now this changes everything. Hey, any of you guys you responsible for mowing the lawn? I know it's only 2 months of the year here in Minnesota. Okay, yeah. Okay, so growing up, and I feel like this only makes me feel really, really old. I grew up single mom, so we didn't have a lot, and I was in charge of mowing the lawn. We did not have a lawnmower with an engine. You do? Are you serious? Is it one of those ones that you push and it's as fast as you push, the blade moves? So you're the motor. Yeah, struggle's real. I feel you, man. I feel your pain. Yeah. I mean, anybody else, you seen one of those lawnmowers? Yeah, okay, you've at least seen it, right? You've seen that hit the lawnmower that he has. Bro, you need to help your friend out sometime, all right? What kind of lawnmower do you have? Okay, push. It's not self-propelled? Ooh, electric though. How many of you guys, you got the self-propelled lawnmowers? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, wait, how about this? How many of you got the riding lawnmower? Bro. No. We're jealous. Hey, bring that over to our house sometime because we need help mowing our lawn. It's not even a chore, right? That's fun. Okay, no lie. It's like taking a break. That's not even a chore. All right. How about this? How many of you have a riding lawnmower? It's your chore to mow the lawn, and you actually get paid allowance to sit on your lawnmower. The struggle. I love it. Okay, so here's the deal. So picture Zane, little Zane, many years ago, pushing a mower with no motor. I know. And then I moved to my dad's house, high school. My dad purchased a riding lawnmower. Time to get real. But check this out. How foolish would it have been if I would have continued to push the self-propelled lawnmower? Stupid. Thank you. But here's the deal. I think some of us, as Christians, we go about trying to accomplish the Christian life by our own self-propelling. And we fail to realize that God has given us His Spirit, that through the power of His Spirit, Christ would come to live in us. Check that out. Look what he says. He says, I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. This is the game changer. Like, okay, I don't know, maybe this will, maybe this will help. How many people you like basketball? Nope, okay, you're out. Yeah, me, I'm not a real big basketball fan, but I know of LeBron James, right? Like, dude's a baller, okay? What? Now, just true confession, I'm terrible at basketball. Same? Okay. Jake Sullivan, our next team head, he's my boss. Like, he played basketball, Division I. He's like all-star. Like, that dude could play basketball, right? I guarantee if I show up and Jake's playing, I'm the last one to get picked. Right? He's like, Zane, you're my friend. I love you, bro. You're not on my team. Right? Because he knows I will be a hindrance to the team, right? I mean, I play hockey, so I can foul like nobody's business. You know what I mean? But like, when it comes to basketball, I just don't, I don't know how it is. I can't ball, okay? But now, what if I could figure out a way to get LeBron James to come live inside of me? Like, I could shrink him down, harness everything that he is, and get him to live in me. Okay, imagine now, we're up at the basketball court here, and I'm like, hey, Jake's up there because he's always up, coaching and playing basketball. And I'm like, hey, dude, we playing? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, hey, can I be on your team? He's like, nope, hard pass every time, right? Zane, you're riding the bench. I'm like, oh, that's right. So I go on the other team. They put me in, right? All of a sudden, I'm like, hey, guys, pass me the ball, because that's how I'm like, pass me, don't forget about me. They pass me the ball. I'm like, oh, boom, boom, jam at them. And they're like, what just happened? They're like, what got into you? I'm like, LeBron James. We're like, what? I'm like, yo, pass me the ball again. They're like, okay. Pass me the ball. I'm like, oh, 180 jam. Come on now, what's up? They're like, saying, seriously, what got into you? I'm like, LeBron James, he lives inside of me now. Galatians 2:20. Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but who? But Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. That God, the God of the universe, has come to live inside of you through the power of his Spirit. This means that you don't need any more of God, because all of who God is, you have. Every obstacle becomes then an opportunity for God to show his strength through you. Again, some of us, you're hearing this and you're going, that's cool, but I don't understand how to live that out, because I still show up to the test on Thursday and I didn't study. So is Jesus going to help me in that moment? That's sometimes like me picking up the guitar and being like, I've never spent a moment of practice in my life. God help me play. I don't got it, right? Thank you. Who just clapped? You're like, it's an A for effort, right? And this is not the you all get a participation badge. Here's the deal. The God of the universe now lives in you through the power of his Spirit. And we have the opportunity to unleash his power through us. And the way that we unleash the power of God through us, check it out. Check out what he says. Galatians 2:20 again. If we put that verse back up there, Galatians 2:20 says, "And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith." Faith. What it takes is essentially giving our life back to God and saying, God, I'm tired of trying on my own to play my own song. The beauty of this, my father-in-law, not only is he a maker, he's also a musician. And the same God who made you is not only the maker, he is the musician. He wants to play his song through you. And too many of us, myself included, go through life trying to play our own song. We trust in Jesus. We believe in him to get us to heaven, but we forget that Jesus sent his Spirit from heaven to get into us. So that I no longer have to self-propel my push mower, but I get to unlock and unleash the untapped potential of the God of this universe to live through me. And this is the opportunity I think that the world is longing for. The world needs to what you have. I love what 1 Peter says. You have everything you need for life and godliness. It's available to you every moment of the day. How do we unlock it? By faith. You know, I don't know if I told this story before, but I was at an airport one time, and I go to the airport, I get my coffee, I sit down, I usually try to find a big window, to look out at the planes or just watch, whatever's happening. All of a sudden, I heard this. And I was like, what is that? And all of a sudden, it kept going. And at first I thought it was an earthquake, right? Because things are literally, my coffee mug was like shaking on the table. I could see the windows like beginning to flex. And I was like, what is that? What in the world? All of a sudden, everybody in the entire airport is looking around. All of a sudden, this fighter jet took off right in front of us. Just, and everybody literally like we started clapping, like, that's amazing! Because there was so much power behind that piece of machinery. And then as I sat there and thought about it for a little bit, I was like, how funny is that? We're at an airport. Airplanes take off from here every day. That's what I'm literally here to do, ride an airplane. Why this one captivated everybody? Because it possessed a power that the others did not. You possess a power, the power of the God of the universe who lives in you, a power to overcome temptation. There is no temptation that you will face that is greater than what you can face. That God has given you the ability to fight against that temptation, to overcome those hardships, anxiety and depression, loneliness. I'm not saying that means if you're taking medications that you just throw them out the window. God uses medical doctors to make great discoveries to help us with our chemical imbalances as well. But here's what I am saying. There is nothing that you will face that is greater than the God who you know and who lives in you. And it's time for us to start living like that. And right now, the pressure is on. And here's what typically happens when the pressure is on, is we begin to live according to our strength. Or at least I know I do. That's what happens in my life. Check out what Romans 5:10 says. For while we were enemies of God, Romans 5:10, for if while we were enemies by God, we were reconciled to God through the death of his Son, how much more, having been reconciled. Basically what that's saying is like, you were once enemies of God because of your sin. You weren't in a relationship with him. You were opposed to God because of your sin and the lifestyle that you lived. But Jesus came, he reconciled you, he brought you back, restored you, brought you back to a relationship with God, right? That's what we always talk about, the cross. We always talk about Jesus dying on the cross to pay the penalty for our sin, to restore us back to relationship with God. But the cross is only part of the message. Check out what he says. How much more then, having been reconciled, shall we be saved by his life? We're not just, we're saved, reconciled through his death, but it's his resurrection, ascension into heaven that like helps save us in life, that he's come back to live in us through the power of his Spirit. And so right now, if you're asking that, okay, Zane, so like, what do I do? In some way, that fighter jet pilot, right? He got into that jet, he had to like turn the key or push a button. I don't know what you do to start a fighter jet, right? But he had to enact that engine to unleash the power. Faith is the first thing. Trusting God to be God on your behalf. But here's the other part that many of us miss. Let's go back to the very first part. We put Galatians 2:20 back on there. Galatians 2:20, the very first part of the sentence, Paul says, I have been crucified. Do you know what it takes? This is the part, I'm like, you've had the ultimate pump up. Like, dude, all of God is available to you. Like, you can unleash his potential. Like, think about what is before you. Jesus says in John 10:10, I've come you may have life and life to the fullest. This is like the life you've longed for, overcoming these obstacles. It's available to you, but here's how you get it. You got to die to yourself. And this is the part that's not always popular. It's where Jesus says in Matthew 16, 24 through 26. Matthew 16, 24 through 26, Jesus says to his disciples, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it benefit if someone if he gains the world, or what shall a man give in return for his soul? Here's the reality. If we can go back to the first part of that, Matthew 16:24. Jesus says you got to take up your cross. If you want to experience the fullness of his life, you have to lay down your life. I'm not talking about like getting saved and getting to heaven. That is done by the grace of God and your faith in what he did on the cross. But if you want to experience the fullness of this life, it takes laying down your life. And I think there'll be many of us, some even in here, who go through life saved. We're on our way to heaven, but we miss the fullness of life that God has here on earth because we're unwilling to let go. Unwilling to say, it's one thing to say, Jesus, you're all I need. It's another thing to say, he's all I got. And so I want you to take a moment and to think through. Sam gave an awesome invite just earlier to trust Jesus for some of you who don't know him. I want to challenge some of you who do know him. Are you ready to be done living life according to your own strength? Are you ready to be done trying to play your own song? Are you ready to say, God, you made my life? You died, you sent Jesus to die on the cross, to be raised to new life, to purchase my life? give my life back to you. And I just want to be real. I felt Sam's pain when Sam was sharing, and like that he was there, and he's like, Lord, what if you call me here forever? The fear to say, God, that interrupts my plans. But the faith that Sam came to just say, you know what? My marriage, my life, it's yours, God. Do with it what you will. And what it does is it goes from, if me trying to play a guitar, the hands of a novice, to going into the hands of a guy like Sam, knows what he's doing. I think I just compared Sam to God. Sam's like, no! The perfect musician. The musician who knows every chord, who knows every progression, and plays the perfect tune. And so if you lately have felt out of tune, you felt in this world and all that you're going through that it's just not working. It's one hindrance after another, one difficulty after another. The depression, the anxiety, the insecurity, wondering what people think about you. It's because it's become about you. And what if we just say, God, I'm done. You take my life. It's not like a done, like I'm over this thing, I'm out of here. It's like, no, I actually want to live to the fullest of my potential, and I realize I don't got what it takes. But God, you do. And watch God do the unimaginable in your life as he works through you. How's that start? It can start with a simple prayer, just like Sam shared earlier. I'm just saying, God, my life is yours. And then as we go about life, I mean, you'll probably face something tomorrow. You might even face something tonight. Your parents don't pick you up on time, and you're waiting, and all your friends leave, and you're there alone. And rather than getting mad and being like, man, my parents are always late, you say, God, my life's not my own. Maybe you have something for me in this opportunity. Rather than being mad and frustrated, what if I'll look for an opportunity that God might be doing something? And who knows, as you change that perspective. You know, so many people were like, I can't wait for 2020 just to be over. I'm like, you know what? We flip the calendar, it's not going to change anything. But you flip your mindset, it'll change everything. And you focus your mind on Christ and allowing him to live his life through you. Watch the difference as you go about school, work, family, friends. You no longer live according to your life, but his life. Become less easy to be offended. When you're cut from the team, it doesn't mean that you've lost everything, because you say, my value is not in being on the team and being the starting player, whether I ride the bench or whether I get the star position. That you just say, God, it's yours, and I trust you because he is good and he knows how to lead through your life. And so with that, I want to invite you guys actually to stand in this moment. I know we often do like bow your heads and close your eyes. I want to invite you to stand. And as you stand, I want you to think about like, God, what is it that you're calling me to? And as a act, we say worship. You know, one of the things they often do in worship is we raise our hands, right? Do you know what raising your hands is all about? It's the international sign of I surrender. All over the world, you raise your hands like this, they know, oh, that person's surrendering. That's essentially what it's like. It's I surrender. I'm surrendering, God, to you in your ways, not my own. And so we invite you, whatever way you feel comfortable, if you feel like God's nudging in your heart to lay some things down, you surrender. If for you that means in this, like you want to worship, raise your hands, surrender, you can do that. If that means, man, you need to sit back down and have a personal time with the Lord, you do that. But don't miss this opportunity to respond to God.
Sing this